Welcome to JHart Modelworks. The resin engine is in and it's time to get back to work on the Porsche 356 widebody restomod. Welcome to my workbench, let's get started. Alright, so the resin kit engine is in from Fire Rods in the Netherlands. And if you've never used one of these resin kits, they do not come cleaned up. When you look at them on eBay, they look all clean and pretty, but when you get them, they actually come in with a lot of flash on them. A lot of work needs to be cleaned up. Now I only need one piece out of this. I'm only missing one piece. This is not that piece. This is the opposite pieces. I've already done some work on this piece, on the piece that I need. But as you see, it comes in fully solid, while the kit piece is hollowed out in the center. Like I said, that's the one that I actually have. So I've gone ahead and done some cleanup. I've drilled out the cylinder rings, the piston rings, and I've gone ahead and hollowed this out. Now this took a lot of drilling and filing using my metal files and a lot of sanding and cutting with my hobby knife and scraping and sanding to get this cleaned up. And technically I could have, because the pistons are going to be completely encased, in theory I could have just taken and glued this solid piece up to this other piece and it would be fine, as long as nothing happened and nothing got hit real hard. These are the cylinder heads. Now these are going to get glued up, and as you see, it's just kind of a press fit. Now these are the pistons that come in this kit, and like I said, I don't actually need to use the pistons because they are going to disappear. But the nice thing about the pistons The nice thing about the pistons is that once you have the pistons inside, the cylinder heads kind of sit right on top, and it gives just a little bit more structural rigidity. I mean, there's not a whole lot more, but there's just that little extra something to hold on to in there to hold these and line things up and make sure that things sit right. Going to result in our engine block. That, and I know that they're in there. But that's the plan. The seam sits fairly nice. After a lot of cleanup, it sits pretty nice. I did have to go ahead and do a little sanding on that lower part as well, or filing to get that to sit. There was a lot of filing needed to get those pistons to sit in there. But I also filed a good bit kind of on here, as there's something that sits in there. There's a little tab that sits in there. I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to sit the parts in there properly. So I'm going to go ahead, now that I've got this cleaned up and I've got everything fitting right, I'm going to go ahead and get the other half of this engine painted and get this glued together so that I hopefully don't lose any more pieces. I did try to make some resin casts on this so I could have some spares I don't know how well they're going to come out. I used some of this Alumilite mold putty, and this really does not seem to be great for real fine detail. I mean, it kind of works, but I mean, I've never really been good with molding resin parts myself. The Umu stuff that Shawn uses probably would work better. If it does work, maybe I'll have at least enough of a part that I can maybe assemble this resin engine and have a nice looking ish engine to put on the stand. That's kind of my other thought, but I really wanted to just kind of have some extra parts in case, you know, I messed the engine cover up trying to clean it up to fit the pistons, and then I just kind of said to heck with it, let's get brave and just start, you know, drilling and filing and trying to clean that up, and it did work out. So when I come back, I should have at least the block glued together. Alright, so our engine is fully assembled. I used my red 28 gauge electrical wire to wire up both the distributors. And I used some rubber hosing from an Aoshima motorcycle to make the boots on the ends of the wires. This engine has 2 plugs per cylinder, so you've got a pair in there, you've got one on the front and the back. I've also got a set of wires for the ignition coils. I was going to kind of leave them up and just tuck them in and actually build ignition coils, and I'm going to still build, I believe I'm still going to build some ignition coils, but I just ran ahead and tucked those wires down in here. They'll get tucked into the back and just never really be seen again anyhow, so it's easier than messing with it. I love Shawn's red fan shroud so much that I stole it. I really think that fan shroud looks really good in red. I also use my mechanical pencil, pick up some of these bolts and some details like that wiring that runs along the top of that fan shroud. Give everything a nice wash with some Tamiya panel line accent color. The exhaust came out great. I started with some Mr. Color Super Metallics 2 Super Titanium. I didn't really want this to have a titanium look to it. I didn't, because it's not a titanium exhaust. So what I did was I just sprayed, after doing the titanium, I sprayed multiple fairly uneven coats of Alclad's Hot Metal Sepia to get kind of an uneven but kind of worn and heat stained look to it. I'm not real sure what's going on with my Alclad Hot Metal Sepia. I haven't tried any of Alclad's other hot metal colors, but when I do spray the Hot Metal Sepia, it's always coming out glossy. So to fix that, I just kind of hit it with some Tamiya flat clear and toned it back down into a flat. So the kit comes with these square air cleaners, but I really like these pill-shaped ones better. So I was going to scratch build some. I was going to use some sheet styrene and a bit of wool from a Dremel polishing pad. But the resin engine kit came with these, so I just said to heck with it and went with those instead. The filter material is actually from a ProTech aluminum air cleaner for muscle cars. Really, it's just gray lines printed on some white paper, to be honest with you, and I just glued it in place. So I think those came out fantastic, and I went ahead and painted the tops of them red to match that air shroud. So all in all, I really like how this engine came out. It came out fantastic. And at this point, all we got to do is get this tucked into the chassis and made it up to the transmission, and we'll be done with the engine. And here we are with the engine mounted into the chassis. Everything seems to be sitting correctly. Mates up to the transmission. Went ahead and scratch built a pair of Bosch ignition coils right here. Had them wired down in there. Got those mounted to the back wall. I also scratch built an oil filter canister. The oil filters on these cars sit external to the engine. They also typically sit on this side and a little higher, but when I did some test fitting, setting it on this side had some issues with the wires from the distributor, and it also, when I had it sitting higher, it interfered with the engine cover. It didn't sit right, so I went ahead and lowered it and moved it over here to the clearer side of the engine so that things will sit just a little bit better. Painted up our brake assemblies and hubs. Just some alclad steel and some Vallejo silver, and we went ahead and blacked out the center of the wheels. Kind of like the way that looks. And then when you get your hubs mounted in, you can see the lug nuts roll really well in there. So that's going to be it for this update. Next steps are going to be to get the chassis and the body, mount the windshield, finish scratch building the bumpers, do a couple other things to try and get this thing wrapped up. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Also, feel free to leave comments, feedback, critique, or anything else in the comment section below. I enjoy interacting with all my viewers in the comment section and try to reply to all the comments I receive. If you want to catch future videos, please consider subscribing to my channel and make sure you click the bell notification icon so you can be notified when I upload new videos. As always, thank you for watching, keep modeling, and have a great day.